Alright guys, so this is going to be a video on how to use MyFitnessPal. So I've screen recorded how I use it on my phone. I don't recommend using it on the desktop. I find it very clunky. It's optimized for mobile experience, so use it on your smartphone. Without further ado, here we go. So first thing you're going to do is open the app MyFitnessPal. Once you do, you'll end up at this dashboard here. First thing we're going to do is go to Diary right here. So that was the home page right there. Now I've gone to Diary. Diary shows what I've eaten for the day, and it's where you're going to spend most of your time tracking your food. So, at the top here, it's going to show the day. Today, you can scroll back to yesterday, you can scroll forward to the future, and then I have my calories here. So you can see I have a goal of 2,555 calories today. So far, I've eaten 843. Now, the exercise portion of MyFitnessPal, for the way that I do things and the way that I coach, you're going to ignore it completely. There's a lot of variation depending on exercise as well as depending on individuals of how many calories you burn from exercise. So if you're taking it into account, you're going to be doing it in an inaccurate way. So just ignore it completely. I've taken it into account with you and with your goals and the targets that we've set. And your calories are already set to account for the exercise that you're going to be doing. Now, down here, you've got your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you'll be able to track all of your foods in there. You can see here what I had for lunch after a bit of a fast this morning. Okay, so next up, when I go to tomorrow, you can see all the different things. If we can just go back here briefly. So you can see here, this is what a day looks like. It has nothing added to it. And then I've clicked Add Food, and that's going to take me to this section right here. Now right here, when you go to add food, there's going to be 4 sections at the top. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into them later. We have recipes. You have your meals, so you can add your own meals, and that'll have multiple ingredients, so you can just quickly do it, make it a little bit more efficient. As well as My Foods, and that's where you manually add foods that you eat on a regular basis that aren't in the database. And then if they come up again, you can re-add them. So say you have like a local butcher, and they have a label with nutrition facts on it for something that you bought there, but you can't find it on MyFitnessPal, you can enter it in based on the label, the nutrition label that you have, and then you can go to My Foods and pull that up every single time if you want to. It also has foods that you ate recently, and you can also sort it by foods that are very common, the things that you eat most commonly if you click right here. So that is that. What you're going to do is say I wanted to add more broccoli. I would just click on it and then click Add, and we'll go into that in just a second here. Okay, so next, let's just do an example. Let's say we're having a very ordinary breakfast for me, and that's going to be a little bit of coconut oil along with some eggs for breakfast. So I'm going to go to my food. I've selected coconut oil. I click right on the name, and then it brings me to here. You can see the nutrition facts as well as the serving size, and I can select from various serving sizes here. Now I'm going to select a teaspoon. Normally I'd actually recommend a half teaspoon, but for this example I just went teaspoon. And you can see here there's the serving size, and then there's also the number of servings. So right now this would be 1.5 teaspoons, and these calories as well as fat amounts will represent that up here. I'm going to adjust that to 1, and then I hit the check mark, and it's now entered in my diary. Now let's say I want to add something else. I'm going to search for whole eggs here. I'm going to set it to 2 eggs, and I add it. And so on and so forth. Certain things you're going to do in grams because you're going to measure with your food scale. Some things are measurable in cups. You can use a measuring cup, like lentils, for example. So I'm going to have a serving of a half cup. And then the one other thing is I can do it by either fraction or decimal when I'm setting the serving size. So if I go to fraction here, you'll see I'll get a fraction, like 1/4, quarter cup, half cup, everything like that. I prefer to use decimal because it gives you more control over the exact amount you're going to enter. But that's just me personally. You can do it either way. And then you just go on, and throughout the day, some people log their whole day at the start of the day. They plan every single thing to a T. I prefer a bit of a more flexible approach. It just depends on what kind of a lifestyle you're living. If every minute's accounted for and you have a super strict schedule, you're someone with a busy job and you also have kids or something like that, you may want to plan everything ahead of time and have it all in Tupperwares. Personally, for me, I like to cook throughout the day. Obviously, I work from home. I have a bit of a flexible schedule, so for me what I do is I just put things in as I go, and then I make sure to tailor it to the end of my day, but I understand that's not realistic for a lot of people. What most of my clients do, and what I recommend that most of them do, is they set the breakfast and lunch ahead of time, and then as well as the snacks usually throughout the day, but then dinner is a little bit more flexible and you just adjust it as you go. What you do is you fill everything in, you go throughout the day, and then once you're out of calories, the number one rule is when we're losing weight, calories is king. So once you're out of calories, you just stop eating. If you're having trouble with hunger, it means you didn't eat enough protein or you did something else wrong, like ate too many sugary carbohydrates. Those are some of the finer details that we troubleshoot as we're going through the coaching. But bottom line, we need to figure out how to make it so that you can eat the right amount of calories and not feel super hungry and deprived. And that's going to be the key to losing weight. And MyFitnessPal is going to be critical for that. The two most important things, and again, this is an aside, but the two most important things are going to be that we're hitting your calories correctly, as well as getting your protein high enough. And the reason getting your protein high enough is so important is there's a bunch of little detailed reasons where it really helps with your body composition, but the number one thing is it's going to be the thing that's going to keep you full enough so that you actually don't feel like you need to eat more calories. And we'll get into the more nuanced stuff later in the nutrition portion of this course. Okay, back into it here. Now here I've gone to more. Progress allows you to track weight. Now with your progress, we're going to be tracking it in the fitness app that you're going to be using with my coaching. So we don't need to worry about that tab at all. But if you go to the more, it's going to pull up a bunch of settings. Now we don't need premium. We definitely don't need to shop fitness gear. When you create an account, you're going to fill in your profile. So that's going to include your weight and your goals and everything like that. It's going to set you some specific calorie targets at first, but the carbs are going to be way too high. It's going to be way off. It's not going to be the best approach. So that's just going to get you started. But the profile, you want to make sure that your height and your weight are correct. Beyond that, it doesn't really matter. Plans, we're definitely not going to worry about. That's why you're with me, and I guarantee my plan is better for you as an individual than whatever cookie cutter stuff they're giving out right now. Recipe discovery, if you want some new ideas, feel free to explore that out. Workout routines, definitely don't need to worry about that either. We've got that taken care of. Now, goals. Goals is kind of cool. You don't really need to worry about it, but goals is going to be relevant, not for the fact that you're putting your goal in, but for the fact that it's also going to be where you're able to change your calories and your macros. So that's macronutrients being protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Again, I'm going to dive deeper into that in the nutrition portion of the course, but you do need to know it for right now. What we're going to do is we're going to set a calorie target, and then we're going to set a percentages target for how much protein, carbs, and fats we want you to eat per day. And we're going to do that in the goals tab. So you are going to be going there fairly regularly to adjust your target depending on if it's an exercise day or a rest day, and every time we tweak your plan. Challenges we don't need to worry about. Nutrition is cool, and it is going to be important because it's going to show you how much of your protein, carbs, and fats you've eaten for the day. And what that's going to allow you to do is go in there regularly throughout the day to check and see, do I need to be eating more carbs, more protein, more fats the next meal, so you can get everything dialed in. And so the two most important tabs here are going to be goals and nutrition. You're going to be visiting those regularly. Pretty much everything else doesn't matter at all, essentially. So right here, I've just clicked on goals. You can see here it's got my starting weight, my current weight, goal weight, weekly goal, activity level. All that's cool, but it's really not that important. The only thing that matters here is nutrition goals, calorie, carbs, protein, and fat goals. And we're going to go to that all the time. You're going to get really, really used to going here all the time. And when I do click on that, it's going to bring me right here. So now you can see I've got my calories at the top. Right now, today it's set to 25.55. Today is a rest day, so my carbs are set low at just 160 grams, aka 25% of my calories. Protein, 25% as well. I've got over a gram per pound of lean body mass, which is going to be the goal for all of us. And then if you're struggling with hunger, we're going to actually up the protein. For me, I've got it dialed in at 25 right now. It's working well for me. And then fat, for me, I thrive well on a high-fat diet. It's going to vary depending on the individual, so yours might not look like this. But for my rest day, I do 25, 25, 50. So at the start of the day, I went in here, I set the calories to 25.55, hit the check mark, and then I set my macros to these targets. I'm just going to play around with the settings here to show you. So if I click on calories, I can set it to whatever I want, and then I hit the check mark and it'll save. Then I can go in and I can adjust the percentages here. Everything has to total up to 100% for me to be able to hit the check mark. And now I've set it to a different target of 30% carbs, 35% protein, 35% fat. Depending on the individual. Again, I'm going to tell you exactly what to set it to, but this is where you go to do it. Okay, now that we've done that, I'm going to show you the more nutrients tab. Now this one I recommend you ignore it completely, but if you do have a specific goal that we're setting, like say we're trying to get your sodium down and potassium up, or we want to get you to eat more fiber, we go in here and we can set custom goals in here for all of these different things. Unless I mention it specifically, ignore this completely and don't ever bother with it. It's not really going to matter. Okay, now we're getting out of there. Now I've gone to the nutrients tab. So in the menu, you'll see nutrients. And again, this is the one other tab in the more section that's going to be really important. So you can see here each different thing. So we got protein, carbs, fiber, sugar, fat. The three that we're going to be really focusing on is protein, carbohydrates, and fat. If you're struggling with hunger, we're going to focus on getting protein up and sugar down. And that's really going to help mitigate that problem. But you can see here so far today I've eaten 71 grams of protein out of 175, which is the target. That means I have 104 grams left to eat. For carbohydrates, you can see I've got 122 grams left to eat. My goal was 150. I've eaten 28, and so on and so forth. The big three that you're really going to think about are protein, carbs, and fat. And again, the most important one when you're just starting, the one non-negotiable thing is going to be get your calories right. And then when you come to this page, make sure you're getting enough protein. There's a lot of other stuff on here. You can see all the different nutrients, but until you're getting your protein right, don't even think about anything else. And then as soon as you're getting enough protein, then we're going to start to adjust your carbohydrates and fats. But it's one of those things where unless you're getting the big blocks correct, all the little details don't matter because it's so much more important to get those big things right. And protein is going to be that thing when it comes to the nutrient tab. So here you'll see the blue bar fills up. Now, again, with polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, cholesterol, all these other targets, they've chosen what their targets are based on just kind of like very general consensus, basically food guide level recommendations. And we are many levels past those very broad, very poorly put together guidelines. We're getting into very specific nutritional science together here. So you can ignore all of these. When I see these fill up, I don't worry about it at all. It's not relevant because we are on a different level than this cookie cutter BS that really is a big part of the reason why 60% of Canadians are overweight. So moving on. You can see your vitamins down there at the bottom if you want to really get into the details, but again, you want to focus on the big picture first. And then if you click on calories and macros, you'll see these different things here. I recommend, again, ignoring these completely. They're not going to be relevant at all to what you're doing day to day to get the results that you're looking for while you're working with me. Okay, so that is that. Now, if we go back here, you'll see all these other things, blogs, steps, friends, everything like that. Now, friends, the one thing there is going to be important is you are going to add me as a friend. I'm going to get your username, and I'm going to add you. And then what that's going to allow me to do is actually see your diary so that I can see exactly what you are eating every single day. And that's going to allow me to make very fine-tuned adjustments and troubleshoot. So if you're not losing weight quick enough, if you're not losing weight at all, if anything's going wrong, I'll be able to go in there and see exactly why and then fine-tune it together, which is going to help you get way better results. And then you can also select meals from here if you click the green plus. Now, going into here, I'm just going to show you about the recipes, meals, and my food because these are features that you will use. The one other thing that I didn't go into when I filmed this on my phone, but I do want to explain is the barcode scanner here. So the barcode scanner here is the most useful feature on MyFitnessPal. So if you have any kind of food item at all that has a barcode on it, if you use your phone's camera, you click on the barcode here. In the middle of your screen, a barcode box will pop up, kind of like when you do a mobile deposit with a check. And you'll be able to put the barcode in there. So you hold the barcode up and scan it with your phone. And when you do scan it, it's automatically going to pull it up on MyFitnessPal if it's in the database. Most foods will be. If it's not, you can just click Add Food and then manually go through the nutrition, add it all in, and then that barcode will be linked to that food forever on MyFitnessPal. If you do manually add one, try to be cool and be very, very precise about making sure the serving size is correct and adding it in, because other people will be using it to track their weight loss. And if you do it in an inaccurate way, you're going to kind of undermine their success, which is not cool. And so so just make sure that you use the barcode because it'll save you a ton of time. And then getting into here, we have recipes. You can see here, it's home for Easter. So my girlfriend and I made chocolate chip cookies the other day. So when we did that, there was no, there was no recipe for it that I could find that seemed that accurate based on just how much butter was in those cookies. So we added it manually here, and what you do is you just pull up the recipe and you add all the ingredients individually, as well as how many cookies the serving size made. So, we make one batch, came out with 11 cookies. That means that per 1.5 servings, you get this much. That's just the amount that I had the other night. You can adjust that, but you can see here, this is really high calorie. These are some really big, high fat cookies. If I just put in any old chocolate chip cookie, like some Chips Ahoy cookie that's not nearly as rich and not nearly the same size, it might have said 100 or 200 calories, and then I'm off by 227 calories. If I do that once or twice during that day, then that can be the difference between losing weight and not losing weight that day. So these details do matter, which is why it's worthwhile to add recipes that you make often. The other one is split pea soup. You can see here very high protein, moderate carb, and low fat. And again, I entered that recipe in manually because that's one where the recipe wasn't in MyFitnessPal. And then instead of having to enter all the individual ingredients every single time and then figuring out what percentage of flour and of butter and everything went into the recipe one by one, which would be an absolute nightmare. You wouldn't stick with it. If you're planning on making the recipe again, you throw it in here, and then you can very quickly just click on that instead of trying to look up the ingredients one by one, which again is just a total nightmare. And if it's not sustainable to do and a huge pain, then you're not going to stick with it. So that's recipes. Next up I'll show you is meals. So I've just entered here. You can see I entered the recipe. Now going to the meals tab, what that allows you to do is you can log. So say there's a certain meal, or say you're the kind of person who there's like 5 different meals you like to have throughout the week, or you have the same thing for lunch every day. You can enter all of the different things in. So for example, I'm going to use here sweet potato goat cheese salad. So you've got your goat cheese, you've got your sweet potato, you've got kale, we've got chicken. We've got all these different things in there. There's all these different ingredients, and entering it every single time would be tedious. So instead, because I know I want to make this recipe again, I entered it into meals and saved it as a meal. You press plus here and then click add to meals or add to recipes or add to my foods. And I added it in, and then now all I have to do is click right on that recipe, click add food, and then choose which meal I want to add it to, and it's going to enter all of the different ingredients all at once. Very, very time efficient. So I'll just click on it here. You can see here a serving, what it's going to have, and then you can see the amounts for everything, all the different ingredients, and then you can make sure that when you make it accurately to the proportions of when you entered it into MyFitnessPal. And one serving sounds about right, so I'm going to click add it to my meal. And then now you can see here, we've got all the different things. We've got the goat cheese, we've got the balsamic vinegar, we've got the olive oil, we've got the sweet potato wedges. Everything is already in there, and then I don't have to go through one by one and add all these ingredients and measure them again and again and again. So that's going to be your meals. The last thing is going to be my foods, and right here I'm just demonstrating how you delete things. So with the cookies, I'm not going to eat those today, but I do want to eat the salad, so I'll leave the salad in. Now all you do is you swipe from the right side where the calorie number is to the left. You'll see the red delete button pop up, and you just click on it and you can delete food out of your diary. Okay, so moving on from that, we go back to more. Now we go to my foods, and now these are some foods that just weren't in the database, so I entered them in manually. Let's use the, so at Owen Sound, there's a turkey sausage from a butcher, a local butcher. It does like locally farmed meats. And so you can see here, per 145 gram serving, we got 245 calories. All I did there was, they did have a nutrition facts label on it, but because it's from a local small town, it's not going to be in MyFitnessPal's database. So I clicked add to my foods. I manually entered in all the ingredients. And now if we go back to that butcher and get that same thing again, it's right in here, so I can quickly and easily add it every single time instead of having to add fresh every single time. So that is pretty much everything you need to know about MyFitnessPal. Yeah, basically, I'm going to tell you exactly for the calories as well as the macronutrients, the protein, carb, and fat percentages, what to do. So you don't have to worry about that. You just need to know the 2 key things, the goals tab under more right here. And you're going to need to know nutrition, so you can check and see, have I eaten enough protein, carbs, and fat today. You're going to need to know where the diary is, and then if you press this green plus at any time, you can add food. When you click add food, if you click the plus at the top, you'll be able to add meals, recipes, and more. And that's basically how you're going to use it. And the golden rule is once you're out of calories for the day, stop eating. If you're having trouble with that, we need to either adjust. Maybe you're eating too many liquid calories. You're probably not eating enough protein, and maybe you're eating too much sugar. That's where we start anyways, and that's what I'm here for, is those finer adjustments. But MyFitnessPal is going to be what allows us to see exactly what's going on so that we can make those fine adjustments very accurately. And that's what's going to drive really quick results and really help you to actually transform your body in a way that's really significant and meaningful. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you If you have any questions, let me know, and we are out for now.